Hey there, guys, and welcome to another Factorio Friday Facts discussion. I can't talk. Number 306, experimental demo, and we're not joined today by Affliction. He's still pretty upset about last week's and the previous week's stuff and the changes that went in. He's kind of temporarily or permanently lost his faith in the devs' decision making, so he's not joining us. I do not have the luxury of not doing a video. So we're just going to move on. I am personally still very bummed and very, very much disagree with the oil changes coming in. But let's focus on this Friday Facts and see what's going on here. So this is all about the experimental demo and kind of introduction campaign and stuff like that. So yeah, as Abrigado says, this Friday Facts is about introduction scenario, not about anything that'll be in the free play Factorio. You may want to read previous Friday Facts, these two here, about the introduction. I'm not going to go over them again. There are videos of these, of course, that we did, where you can read the Friday Facts themselves. So basically, the TLDR of all this, the stable candidate of the introduction scenario is now in experimental period. Please play it and send me your screenshots. Feedback, especially on the freedom in game, would be greatly appreciated. We have also released an experimental version of the demo. Be sure to send this link to your friends tomorrow when we fix an unavoidable crash. So yeah, that's not good. So I'm gonna give this spoiler right now, guys. If you have not played the introduction scenario yet, go play it before you listen to the rest of this video if you're at all interested in playing it or whatever, because there are spoilers here, so definitely go do that. Okay, so now, I am going to summarize quite a lot of this. Basically, the tutorial components are working really well now. There's still some polish, of course, but they're pretty confident. It's ready for new players of all kinds. So basically, this will discuss the introduction, but from the point of view of a player who has not played the game yet. Once 17 hits stable, the free demo will be replaced with just the introduction scenario. So basically what they wanted from a new version of the demo is just something that kind of gives a bit of a tutorial, but then also is just more up to date, because the current demo is super, super out of date. Like, it is very... as it says here, it can hardly be called representative of contemporary free play Factorio. So it didn't even include research, and there's only about 2 hours of playtime. So they kind of want to just update it and, you know, make it better. So there were a few constraints for the new demo. The player can fail during the demo, and difficulty is respectful, fake danger is disrespectful. So basically they hoped that the new demo would demonstrate a wider range of Factorio concepts, including small taste of Death World difficulty. I would say we were too successful. So initially they decided to do this with a final quest where the player had to quickly complete a long research while the biter attacks increase in strength. The player needs to be completely attentive, otherwise their defenses will fall over. As you can see, there's a lot of biters. So an invisible dynamic difficulty curve meant that everyone is challenged to the breaking point, veterans and new players alike. See Friday Facts 284 for the goal of being a challenge. I would say it was working well. So what other people were thinking, basically there were two sides. They received really happy emails about the intense battles and how sweet the victory felt. They also received pseudo hate mail from like 1,000-hour players rage quitting, which is pretty funny. What's interesting is the reason the reason the devs think a lot of the vets were failing was because they were pretending to be a new player, but still kind of using things that like a veteran would use, like hotkeys and you know, really heavy pollution, and not placing a ton of turrets and not being super attentive to them, just because that's kind of ingrained in their brain. Playing free play Factorio for so long, they maybe weren't ready for something quite like this. And stuff like that. So, but new players felt pressured and were generally able to pull off a close victory. Many said they were overrun at the end, but still were victorious, giving an interesting moment to leave the game and start free play with a high heart rate. Feedback was more positive than negative, which is good, but from the negative feedback, there were two reoccurring themes. The most common negative feedback was that such intense combat is not representative of Factorio, which I would say is true. Factorio is definitely not a combat game. And the second most common feedback was that the player did not expect such a difficulty in a tutorial level. Which, that makes sense too. So basically, they had several failed solutions. The first one was just sending less biters, and this is where I'm basically just going to read the headers. The second failed solution was to ramp up the attack slower over time, basically. But there were some issues, of course, with each of these. Basically, the issue with this one is it removes ammunition as a production pressure. The problem with this one is that this means that only new players experience the challenge, as they most likely have built the fewest labs and take the longest to finish the quest. Vets will finish before the attacks build up to any meaningful level. And the last failed one is add more time between waves. And basically, for players to have enough notice between waves, there's a chance they will be able to finish the research before the first one comes. Also, the most common failure state was when a turret with 200 rounds is destroyed, meaning the player cannot craft enough new ammo to keep up with the waves. They basically, all three of these have one thing in common. We would need to implement them in a way that remove the challenge almost completely, so I suggested an alternative solution. So the new solution is to remove the challenge quest completely. Now there's no timed research defense quest at the end of the introduction. Instead, the player is now told to destroy biter spawners to reduce the attack frequency, and then they are left to deal with free play style attacks. The structure of the final quest is similar to free play itself. Research a technology at the bottom of the tech tree. The player now needs to automate logistics science packs to win the introduction. And basically, if the player can't survive there, they will not survive free play Factorio, which is, makes sense. So other new demo goodies, having a good demo is important to them, which is awesome because really, nowadays, having a demo, period, is really rare. I actually cannot think of another game off the top of my head that I've seen that actually offers a free demo. Quite a long time ago, that used to be pretty standard practice, that you could play a free demo. There was a very limited version of the game. But nowadays, it's not a very common thing. And the fact Factorio does that, just the fact it does it, is awesome. And the fact that the devs actually want a good one is even better. And I think that this is going to be huge for them once they go into 1.0 and stuff, because just having that and having it actually be decent is just going to be a massive draw on top of everything else that's already good about the game. We don't want someone to pay for the game just to see if they like it. And it also fits well with our no sales policy. We already offer an extended refund period to players who buy on our website if they gave the game a red hot go but discovered it was not for them. Demos are in general a super cool thing from the 90s. Yeah, basically like what I was saying, that most people here wish still existed. So we'll increase the amount of content in the demo. You can continue playing at the end of the introduction. I expect there's about 10 hours of stuff to do. We are also adding more recipes and technologies to the demo. The new list is list of what is available. So this is basically all the stuff, all the recipes that will now be available in the demo. And this is fairly significant. You can get up to, steel armor, red and green packs, obviously power, up to assembler 2s, piercing ammo, steel. And while in the grand scheme of Factorio, this is not very far, in terms of a free demo, this is a lot. And this should give you a pretty solid idea of if you're going to like the game or not, which I think is great. A complete and unique demo tech tree that uses automation and logistics science packs, mining productivity, infinite research, shooting speed, infinite tech, grenades, steel, piercing rounds, car, medium power poles, heavy armor, submachine gun, assembling machine, 2 turrets, lamps, long-handed inserters, gates, walls, and more to discover. As you can see here, so this is specific to the demo. And again, this will give a pretty good idea to players of what a tech tree, the tech tree might look like and what they can kind of expect. Obviously, this is, structured uniquely to the demo, but just in general, the size of the final play area is also much larger, as you can see. So this is the final the full-sized final play area for the demo, which is fairly sizable. If you consider looking at this factory, I mean, you could fill up quite a large bit of this, and there's actually multiple. There's 2 copper patches, 2 iron patches, even uranium, just interesting because I don't actually see that as a tech you can get, so that might be a little confusing. Um, but it's actually kind of a nice teaser. And then, you know, 2 coal, and can you even get oil? What's interesting is I don't actually see oil on this map, but there's uranium. Maybe I'm just blind. I don't know, but either way, this is really, really good. We have released the changes today and also released an experimental version of the demo. Please let us know if you have any feedback or suggestions in the usual places, forum and Reddit. And as always, guys, I would like to hear your thoughts in the comments. So yeah, this is pretty cool. It is a little. Afflixion was much more annoyed by this than I am, but I am still annoyed that there's like absolutely no mention of the massive controversy the last 2 weeks about the changes with the oil. It's like, I don't know, it's just kind of, it's still really frustrating. But in terms of what is in the Friday Facts here today, this is really good stuff. You know, updating the introduction stuff. There's still things in the introduction scenario tutorial thing that I think need to be changed. I played through a bit of it and tried to put myself in the perspective of a new player and found parts of it that would be very confusing and counterintuitive. And to kind of support what I felt, one of my friends got Factorio not too long ago, like a couple months ago, and started with the introduction campaign or whatever, and they basically were confused and had questions that they asked me in regards to the same stuff that I thought would have been confusing. A lot in regards to like assembling machines, because basically like Elite, maybe they changed this, but when I played it a little, like when 017 first came out, there's like assemblers like placed in the world already. Excuse me. And you know, my friend who played it, and he's a sharp guy. He's played a lot of games, but he was like kind of confused going into free play or into the free play mode because he was expecting assemblers to like kind of just already be in the world because they're already in the world in the introduction scenario. It was like, well, how do I actually make these? And then like with belts and like the loaders and stuff, that can be confusing. Although I kind of remember the devs talking about that, and maybe this Friday Facts about, I think they changed that up. Yeah, I think there's still some stuff that could be made a bit more clear and maybe more similar to free play so that it's not giving like 2 different ideas. But other than that, really, really good stuff. The demo is just so huge. I think that's super important. And there we go, guys. So there's the Friday Facts. Leave your thoughts below, as always, on the forums and Reddit. And until next week, thank you for watching, and we'll catch you later.